If you look at a map, what I've just described to you are the countries that surround the little nation we call Israel. They call Israel the Great Disaster from 1948. The lies that Islam has told about Israel would take books to tell us about them. They go on all the time. Because of the involvement of Islamic money in media in this country, we are being told what they want us to hear. And what they want us to hear is that Israel's the problem. They're the aggressor. They're the occupier of land that belonged to the Arab peoples of the world. That is a lie. For 400 years, the Ottoman Turks had possession of that land and never lived in the land, and then laughed at those poor Jewish people who at exorbitant prices bought nothing but desert, sand, rocks, and swamps. But today it's a different story. They claim that Israel has stolen that land from Arab landowners. That is the biggest lie that's ever been fabricated upon the West. And so many of us believe it, both in Europe and in America. I run into it all the time. I'll tell you how to have a good fight. Go into any single store. I don't care what it is. Gas station, barber shop, grocery store. Just go in there and bring up the issue of Israel. Isn't it wonderful that we have such a great ally in the Middle East as the nation of Israel? You will probably run for cover. You will not believe the hostility. I do it all the time. They don't know how old I am, so they think I'm in great shape. What binds them together is the hatred of Israel and the desire to wipe her off the face of the earth. You know, I really admire the courage of President Ahmadinejad of Iran, that he would come to the United Nations General Assembly and instead of answering the critics about his nuclear program, he chooses as his subject, who is the Messiah? I was so fascinated by it, I got the text. Of course, he disagrees with the Bible. It's the 13th Mahdi of Islam. He's going to come this year, by the way, according to President Ahmadinejad, and he's going to kill all the Christians and Jews who do not submit to Islam. Very strong message of hope and comfort. It was because of that we wrote the little book, Who is the Messiah? I've given it to my Jewish rabbinical friends. I said, if there's anything inaccurate, please tell me. I'll do what I can to change it if you're right. Instead, they have told me it's irrefutable. You see, I do not believe the Jewish world is really that anti-Messiah. No, I've seen something else. I wouldn't be asked to speak in regular Jewish synagogues, as I will be next week in one of the largest in our state. They've asked me not only to speak, but to answer questions for 2 hours as to why I believe Yeshua is the Messiah of Israel. I find the same thing is going on in many communities, Jews asking questions they never asked before. There are 2 questions on Jewish sites that maybe you don't know because you don't frequent them. But 2 questions dominate these sites. One, who is a Jew? They're totally messed up on that issue. They say now you need a mother and a grandmother. They figure if you had a Jewish mom, there's no way you're going to get out. She controls the home. You're going to be a doctor, a dentist, or a lawyer. Even though we know the Bible traces the line to the male, and that there were Gentile women in the line of the Messiah, but Judaism today trusts the mother a lot more and the grandma. But things are changing. Just in the last couple of months, there have been several arguments in the Knesset. I want to personally thank what I hope will be the Prime Minister of Israel, Mr. Benjamin Netanyahu, I want to thank him for his defense of Messianic Jews living in Israel. I want to thank him for having the courage to speak out in the Knesset and say we have to stop biting the hand of those that feed us. We now know accurately that there are 7,000 Jews in Israel who have believed in Yeshua as the Messiah. 7,000 is a small number, but as I recall, in the days of Elijah, there were 7,000 that had not bowed the knee to Baal. Yes, there are things changing rapidly, and Israel has to change. They're looking for friends. Mr. Netanyahu has spoken very eloquently that the best friends Israel has are evangelical believers who are pre-trib, premillennial, and pro-Israel. As he's forming a coalition government, sometimes called a shadow government, until the deal is settled by supposedly the president of Israel, himself an atheist, Shimon Peres, I wrote him and told him that I felt that was an oxymoron. You're a Jew and you're an atheist? There's no way. But anyway, Mr. Netanyahu is now requiring that if anybody wants to serve in his government, they have to believe the Lord God of Israel and the Bible. We need to pray for him and pray for all the leaders in Israel. This is a very, very serious time. And if you think that the coalition of nations that hates Israel is going to calm down now because of the new government, you are mistaken. They have all been writing articles against Netanyahu that this is the time we must attack Israel. Do not be surprised if it happens soon and even in this year. They are mobilizing for that attack. They are looking for weakness in the Israeli armor. They're looking for a president of the United States who will support them more than he will Israel. And unfortunately, he's been making statements to that end. May God convict his heart, and if he is a believer, that he'll turn back to the God of the Bible who loves Israel with an everlasting love.